forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Hey guys, welcome. The Melanated Way. I'm your host, Linda Antwi. In conjunction with Master of BlackJack, we are continuing our Seeking Sister Wife series. We're all like, what has happened? Well, today we have an amazing show for you. We have Sidian and Tosha from season 3 of Seeking Sister Wife. Let's pop them right up on the stream here. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you so much for doing this. We're super excited. And I want to just kind of jump right in and start from the beginning. So I binge watched the whole third season, and I got to tell you, I have lots of questions. So I want to start from the beginning with you guys, because I think that my questions are our viewers' questions and your fans' questions. So can we take it back to the very, very beginning, Sidian? So I heard, and I wrote a note. So you had an original sister wife that left you guys 4 years ago.
Right.
Okay, can we
More
talk
like
a little?
5 years, but yeah.
5 years ago. Okay, can we talk a little bit about how that whole situation happened and how you two handled that situation?
Sure. So, I can't give a whole lot of details on the situation, but she had agreed to have Tosha in our relationship, and at the end of it, basically decided that it wasn't going to work for her.
Okay.
And Tosha stepped out of the whole scenario to give me and the first wife, we'll say, some time to figure things out. And
Oh wow.
yeah, during that time, things were not figured out, basically, and slowly Tosha kind of began to come back around again and help out with things around the house and things like that. So, we ended up getting back together.
Now, Tosha, can you talk to me a little bit about if it's different being wife number 1 versus wife number 2? Has that experience been different for you?
It's a little different, I think, in ways that I had experienced coming in as a second. So I think I'm just a little more aware of somebody else's concerns coming into an established relationship, because I had all those questions and concerns and what's appropriate to parent the kids and how do you communicate. So I think it just gives me a lot more understanding and empathy, and so I try to address things before they're ever a worry for a different sister wife. So
now, can we talk a little bit about the polygamous poly lifestyle or plural lifestyle? Did you always know, and I'll start with you, Tosha, as well, because, from the female perspective, we all have all the questions. Did you always know that you were open to living that lifestyle?
I didn't know necessarily, but I don't know. I've just always been an open person, and once I found it fit, and I was like, yeah, that's something I'm interested in.
And what makes it fit for you?
I think it's just that it's a little different dynamic, and that I don't know, there's more love and support, and I really like the experience of having that communication with another woman.
Now, Sidian, let's just talk a little bit, because I've noticed with the show, every family is slightly different. So tell me what it is you're looking for your family and your situation.
So one thing is I try not to get too specific, because I think if you're out there dating, you don't want to nail down here's every little detail I want in a person, right?
But you must have a type. You two must have a type.
Sort of in a really broad sense. I think that somebody who is very already kind of happy with themselves, they're self-empowered, they have their own goals and dreams. I think that sort of thing is important, and somebody maybe a little bit entrepreneurial, they wouldn't mind, if we want to help them get their own business going and things like that. Like, we love doing stuff like that. We put together websites and e-commerce stuff and things like that. So we want to help somebody else like we do ourselves.
We like empowered women.
Yeah.
And supporting them. So they have to be an individual.
Yeah, not somebody who wants to be like, ordered around and told what to do or something like that. I want the opposite of that.
So is it more like a collaboration?
Oh,
because
yeah.
I've talked to some of your other castmates, and I think that for them, it's more of it's like a tribe. One person said that it was a tribe.
Yeah.
Another person said that it was really just about like a community. So for you, are you saying it's more of a collaboration between you and your sister? The wife?
I would say so. I think that, some of the other families might be more sort of a classic patriarchal sort of structure. And I think that works for some families. And, if everybody's in agreement on that sort of thing, then, that they're all consenting adults, why not? But for us, we really like to keep everybody on exactly the same level. We all have as much say as one another. Nobody goes and makes big decisions without talking to the rest of the family.
And I noticed that with you guys in your season is that you both really considered each other's feelings and consulted with each other on basically everything, which I thought was really quite nice to see. The only thing that I was, and I'm still confused about, so maybe you guys can explain it to me. So the pandemic really changed things, right? So it changed things. You were home a lot. And I do want to talk about some of the people that you dated. But for right now, you go and look first, Sidian, for someone that you're attracted to, and then you bring Tosha in to see if she will get along with that potential sister wife. Is that how it works?
Not quite exactly. So I tend to just try and feel out the situation. Because these women that I meet, I mean, they're all different, and some of them, they want to talk to Tosha right away. And so I will try and facilitate that. I'll come back to Tosha and I'll say, hey, it's really important to this person that they get your take on everything. They have questions for you. Other people, they, I guess they are a little more trusting or something. And they say, whatever works for me or us as a couple in terms of bringing that person in. So I just feel out the situation and see what works for them.
Okay, so but what does that look like? So you're on a dating website. Is it just like a regular, dating.com type website? And then,
I mean, all the normal dating kind of places you would assume, but
and then
also hopefully meeting people like through friends or events and things like that.
Because there's been some times where I was like, hey, I have a friend who's interested in dating you. And so I'd introduce them and have the first introduction. And whether or not that works out is up to them. But so we're just very natural with it, and whatever kind of comes our way. And if it seems like a good fit, we'll pursue.
Okay, that makes it. And how hard or how easy has it been to find potential sister wives?
It's pretty tough.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to ask of somebody to be open to kind of trying to integrate with a family. I think that's like a big ask. And then it's just also not super socially normal right now. So I think there's a little stigma and fear of like maybe how their family will accept it or not. So it just gets a little more difficult the more niche your relationship type is.
Yeah.
But we've had so many nice, kind people reach out to us. And so.
And being on the show, has that opened up the wealth of potential sister wives for you?
It's interesting. Yeah, I think since being on the show, there's a lot of people reaching out, but we actually kind of have something going. So we kindly letting them know we're pursuing something, and if that doesn't work out, then maybe we'll circle back. But
I see a big smile on your face, so it looks like it's going well. That's good.
I don't think it's awful, but we're keeping it pretty. We don't want to spoil nothing for nobody.
Yeah, all we can say is that there's a special somebody that we have our eyes on at this time. So.
Oh, yay! That's wonderful. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, because I did a little bit of research. What do you guys think what percentage of the population do you think is open to a plural lifestyle?
What percentage do we think are open to it?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I would say of, I guess specifically the female population, because that's what we're looking for. Maybe only like 15 to 25%,
I
something
would
like that.
say 20% of the population might practice plural lifestyles, but I don't think all the 20% is open about that.
It's a little more nuanced too,
Or maybe
because
it's like 1% and we're off, and we just know a lot of people in our space.
It's 20%.
20.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's 20% that
Right
say
there.
that they are open to at least exploring a plural lifestyle.
Huh.
You're the first person, Tasha, to actually get that percentage correct in our interview series.
I do some
Hey,
research.
it was
on the
within
subject.
my range. I was
Was it though?
right there. I said 15 to 25. It was right in the middle.
All right, so
I get some partial credit.
partial. She gets 100% credit because she got it. She nailed it. I want to talk a little bit about how faith, if it does, play a role in your relationship, and if it does, what role does it play?
Yeah, we're not religious at all. I mean, I guess you could say we're spiritual, and I can't speak so much for Tasha, but if you did have to give a label to my own sort of, if you wanted to call it a faith, it'd be pantheism.
Okay.
The idea that everything is God, including the people, animals, the earth, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really consider it a religion, but
Yeah.
I guess technically it would be.
Yeah. And for you, Tasha?
Yeah, so at the moment it's just kind of undefined. I relate a lot with Sidian and the pantheism, but for me, I haven't quite, I don't identify as anything, and we've always been open. If a sister wife wanted to practice her own religion, she's absolutely welcome to do that. And when it comes to raising children and that, it would just become a discussion of what's important there.
That was my next question. Great. So let's talk a little bit about your experience on the show. We had you dating Alina, who was a business owner and all of that. And then the pandemic kind of changed that situation. Are you still friends or in contact with her?
Yeah, she's a very sweet woman. We've relocated from the area, so we can't get together or anything like that. But it's exciting to see some of our business stuff get off the ground and just kind of know where she was back when we had met her. And very much on friendly terms with her.
Now, we kind of were left hanging with Alexandra in that whole situation. Can we speak a little bit about that? Because, there is talk that there might be a fourth season. And I'll ask you guys later if you would be open to joining the fourth season, if that was the case. But let's talk about Alexandra and what's happened there, because we all have been left like in the lurch.
What's the cliffhanger for everybody?
Well, what are you still talking to her? Were you surprised that she kind of almost did like a 360 in her dealings with you? I personally thought, when she was like in the wilderness and talking to you, that she seemed like she was going to be super open. The only question was going to be about children and how she felt about children. But to me, after you guys had your date, it kind of went from 0 to 360, and she was having all of these feelings. I don't know if it's because you guys went and saw the psychic, and the psychic talked about 3 kids, and you're getting married tomorrow, and it was
my favorite thing. I love that. Yeah, so I think with Alexandra, and I pronounce her name like that, and I don't know, there was some miscommunication about her. She told me the actual pronunciation is, I think, Alejandra.
Oh.
So, and the sort of Americanized version, I guess I came up with Alexandra. I don't know how that happened. But now I get so much flack across the internet. Now they're like, oh, Sidian thinks he's so posh. He pronounces it Alexandra.
Oh my God, because that's what I've been saying too. There was no clarification. Sidian, that is not your fault.
It was funny. I thought it was funny. We give them crap about it.
I just call her that from now on. Whatever. So anyway, she, I think with her, it was just that she wanted to explore. And she's a really adventurous kind of spirit. She wants to be an adventure tour guide, adventure guide, and take people on these awesome wild adventures. And I think that really fits her personality, that she's out there. She wants to experience life. She wants to determine if she hasn't done something, she wants to test it out and see what's going on there. So, at the end of the day, she decided it wasn't for her, at least not at this time. And that's fine. That's fine for me. I enjoyed her company and everything. So.
Yeah. And I think for some viewers, I think they saw some like red flags or things not fitting. And we definitely saw those things too and acknowledged them. But she was always expressing interest in maybe exploring it or seeing where she landed on some of the subjects like children or things like that. And I think what it came down to was we weren't as open and free as she was in some ways. And so it just didn't fit in those ways.
I think it would have tied her down a little more than she wanted.
Yeah.
I think when
totally
you're saying
fine.
red flags too, it's not like anything about like her personality or something.
No.
She's a wonderful person. It's just things that may
didn't
not
fit with.
didn't fit with our family dynamic, like having to be tied down kind of.
Yeah, no, and I've listened since this show. I've been doing all my research because I have all the questions. I think that with each family, what it comes down to is what's important, right, to the family. So whether that is travel, if that's faith or religion or children or business,
Those dynamics, they're always different.
It's always different, right? So the first thing you have to get down is what's important. Right. So if it's not important to this person, then it's going to be hard for them to fit into the whole lifestyle. Totally understand that. So what I want to do right now is take it back a little bit, because I didn't ask you, Sidian, how long have you been practicing the plural lifestyle, and what got you interested in and deciding to live the lifestyle?
Yeah, I think there was two major things involved in that. As far as how long I've been involved with it, it's kind of hard to say. It's been kind of an off and on thing for over 10 years.
Okay.
But two major things. One is I know a guy, Christopher Ryan. He's an author of this great book called Sex at Dawn. And he is a big advocate that humans have been practicing plural relationship lifestyles for most of our evolution. And so he wrote this book, and it's got a whole lot of scientific backing and great theories on all of that. And I think that was somewhat influential for me. But at the same time, that didn't get me to go like, oh, well, I'm going to go out into the world and do this or something. It just happened. I went to go on a date with somebody that I'd found on a dating site, and they actually brought along their best friend at the time, and I didn't know they were going to do this, and so we all just hung out, and then they wanted to like see a movie and things like this. Things progressed, and I ended up dating both of them for a while, and I realized that, I think that from a perspective when you haven't done this sort of thing, and especially when you are a male or you're looking at a male doing this sort of thing, the immediate thing to think about is sex, and it's like, it must be all about that, and that's why it's, they think it's so great or whatever. But when you actually do it, you realize how much more it is about so many other things. That the psychology of it, the dynamic of it, the whole relationship, the feelings, the way that it plays out, it's entirely different than you would imagine, and you can't know until you've actually been there and done it.
So a lot of the other couples have said something very similar to that. And so my question to you is, on the show, for people that don't know, and this is like their first experience with the plural lifestyle, some people think that, oh, it is all about the guy, and the guy gets to have like all the wives, and what do the wives get out of it? How would you respond to that?
I would say that they're very sexually focused people, which, you know, I'm sure that's kind of a 180 for them to think about that, but because they're trying to say that that's what we are, right? That's what the men are in this relationship. But I would say, get your mind out of the gutter, basically, because they're putting their own ideas of
And
this
belief systems.
into our relationship, when that's not at all what our relationship is about. If our relationship was all completely sexually based, it wouldn't work. No, I don't think any good relationship works that way. You know, that's not a healthy way to be. It's not healthy to be focused on any one thing in a relationship. It's got to be about lots of things. It's got to be well-rounded, right?
Tasha, how would you respond to some viewers thinking that?
Yeah, I would be very much in line with that of get your mind out of the gutter. And of course they have sex as part of a relationship, but that's not the bulk of the relationship. And yeah, if it was, I imagine it would be very short-lived, just because you have to come and show up and be part of the family and,
you gotta show
communicate up. And it's not about a pros and cons list, like what do I get out of it or what does Sidian get out of it. Nobody really does that about monogamy and such. They don't say, well, the pros and cons of getting a husband.
Right.
It's your relationship preference.
That makes sense. Now, I want to ask you guys, what do you guys feel is the biggest misconception from the show that people have about you two?
So one thing I was actually just thinking of is that there's another thing people say about the man. It's very patriarchal all the time, and that the women are being kind of manipulated and controlled and that sort of thing. But I would also flip that kind of on its head, because I mean there are two or more women involved who, you know, they have each other. If you want to think about it as a dynamic of like, oh, men versus women and who's got the most power and that sort of thing. Well, there's more women than there are men in the relationship. So how are you saying that, you know, the man has got like all this power over them and that sort of thing? There's more of them. You know, if you're looking at it from that perspective, I don't think it adds
You're
up.
outnumbered.
Yeah, you're outnumbered. So if the ladies want something to be a certain way and they really want to push that, they're going to win the vote. So
Democracy.
Yes.
So you would say that the biggest misconception is that people are feeling in your relationship that it was very like a patriarchy. That was the biggest misconception from the show?
I think I might say, that is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Same for you?
Well,
agree.
and you know, maybe for some other families that might be true. I can't speak for every family, and I think definitely there's been you know, history and stuff that can show that it can definitely be abused, depending on how people are involving themselves in this sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, but that could also be in any relationship, right?
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to be a plural relationship. If it's not a good relationship, it's not a good relationship.
I don't see how it really changes much when you add more women to the situation. If a man is going to be manipulative and abusive and things like that in any relationship, then he's going to be like that in polygamy.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I want to talk a little bit about how the pandemic and that stay-at-home order has changed, and if it's changed, how you view dating.
I'm not sure it has for me necessarily. I think it's given great perspective on like my strengths and weaknesses as a mother, because I'm not a fantastic stay-at-home teacher. I very much appreciate the staff that helps with that. So I think it was more of just a personal reflection, and it made dating a little more difficult. And I think it only highlighted perhaps the trust you have with a new person, because you had to trust them, like, because there were some health problems in our household. So you had to trust them to wear a mask or who they were in contact with and what they were saying. So
Yeah.
if anything, it was just the trust of accepting somebody new into the home.
That makes sense. Now, for a lot of the families, I'm finding that growing the family is a priority. Is that a priority for you guys, not just with the sister wives, but with children as well?
Yeah, a lot of polygamous families are very baby centric. We're not. I like to say we're dreams and goals centric or focused. So for us, if we were to build around one central concept, aside from having a nice family and everything, is it entrepreneurship and getting ahead in life, getting to a point where we're not, we don't have to worry about our dream projects taking off and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Fulfillment and respect.
So same for you, same answer, Tosha, so it's more about your dreams and fulfillment and less about having like a huge tribe of children.
Yeah, I think it's more about the individual and kind of communal experience, not necessarily like children. If a sister wife wants children, of course, that's her choice. And her and Sidian can kind of discuss it and we can all plan together. But for the most part, we want to, like, if she wants to travel, we'll support travel or build a business or whatever it is. But I think a lot of times parents get lost in the parenting, and it's really important to be there and show up, but it's also important to be an individual. So I think it's important for a sister wife that comes in to be herself and find herself necessarily before having lots of children and experience that alone time with Sidian as well. So I think her being her, and if children's in her path, we'll totally support that.
That makes sense. Now, how did you guys get involved with the show? Like, what did that process look like? Did you see it like a casting and you're like, oh, this looks interesting. Let's share our path and journey with the world?
It was kind of funny. A casting director had messaged me because I'm in like polygamy support groups and things like that. And so he reached out, doing his job. And I thought it was a scam. So I showed Sidian the message and I was like, this seems like a scam. And Sidian thought it was like adult content or something.
He's like, I want to do a film interview with you and I can't tell you what it's about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's this strange man asking my wife to do this like private interview or whatever?
Right.
But I looked at his profile and I was like, no, he actually seems like a real casting director for like real programs. And then it was just so fast. It was just
interviews.
Then we're going to do an interview.
Contracts.
They love you. We're going to do contract. And so
and the guy that we met, he's awesome.
He's fantastic.
He's really
nice.
So we weighed the pros and cons, and I think putting the story out there and normalizing plural relationships was important to us. And so that was the draw. And, some people are going to be negative regardless, and nobody's ever going to like you always. But that kind of stuff, we know we're strong enough people that it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And we'll shelter our children.
What was the biggest surprise being on the show for you? Like fan reaction, seeing the editing, or seeing your face all over the place? Like, what was the biggest surprise for you individually and also as a couple?
For me, I think it was just the like how many people came out of the woodworks that you used to know in high school or things like that. And supportive or not, it was just kind of interesting that people would be like, oh my gosh, I never thought you would do this thing. And I never thought I would do a program like that either. So it was just interesting to see so many people come out, and so many kind people came out and supported us. And, because there's a lot of hate, but plenty of people being very nice. So that was surprising.
Yeah, for me, it was the amount that people will take at face value and make their own assumptions.
Yes.
People's assumptions and the telephone game that they play with that information. There's so many people out there on the internet that it's like they fancy themselves as these private investigators or something. And they get some like piece of information and they just run with it. And by the end of the telephone game, it's like I had found out from this is a real story from somebody online that apparently my dead grandfather was actually still alive and had become a fugitive and was running from like the FBI and was caught at the border of Mexico. And I was like, this is news to me.
Right.
That is huge news. I will have to share that with my family. Thank you. So
it's amazing how many amateur internet sleuths are out there. I always say, you know, you have so much time to like sleuth things. You might want to take an extra like 5-10 minutes and actually research, because those are two different things, right?
They're obsessive too. Some of those people are like basically stalkery kind of people.
Oh yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we're like Z-list. I mean, you have to like invent new letters of the alphabet to list what kind of celebrity we would be.
But you guys know reality TV is its own genre, right? And so the people that watch reality TV, they have a zest for it, right? And I think especially with the network that you guys are on as well, the fans are fans, and they take it really, everything is very personal.
They take it to heart, yeah.
They take it to heart, and because you're on this...
I kind of don't.
Pardon?
I feel kind of bad because I don't. So.
Well, here's the thing. Some of them take it more seriously than the cast members. And they feel like they know you. They feel like you're their besties. And, you know, they take it very, very personal.
Kind and loving and stuff like that. Like, I do connect with them. Like, I feel a personal, like, connection. And sometimes I've made real friendships with some of these people. Mm-hmm. Those ones are great. It's just you know, the other side of the equation,
right? Which there'll always be, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's next for you. What have you been doing since your season ended, and what's next for you?
I got a haircut.
I see that. Fancy.
I didn't do the eyeliner today, though. Sorry.
No, I think it's a good look. I think you can switch it up, and it's a good look, right?
Yeah. I was thinking like lipstick and blush next time for next season. Or
okay.
A little bit.
And the reason being?
Reason being?
Yeah.
Oh, just to mess with people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is it going to be like a rouge, or is it going to be more like a gloss?
Ooh.
I was thinking like full goth, like black lipstick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look for that.
You know.
And will that be
dazzle in your life?
Razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
Is that the name of your makeup line?
Yeah. It's my lookbook.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all razzle dazzle. Razzle. And the show hands.
But as far as what's changed since then, I've been really just put my nose to the grindstone on the My Mythos project. That's my personal mythology, our personal mythology project.
Yeah. And
we love it. It involves so much imagination and kind of romanticizing of your life, but in a very practical way. So that's mymythos.org if anybody wants to check that.
Tell us a little bit more about it, since you've mentioned it. I'm not exactly clear. So is it a book? Like, what is it?
It's so personal mythology is working with your life stories.
Okay.
So I mean, your life stories, they define everything about you, right? I mean, your beliefs, your rules for your life, your values, your fears, all that kind of stuff. Every one of those things has a story behind it. And so, you know, a lot of self-help books, they'll talk to you about like, here's how to overcome a fear of this. Here's how to have confidence in that. But what they don't get to is the roots of like, how did you actually get there? So that's what personal mythology does. It gets to the roots of things. And yeah, it's fantastic because you end up finding out all these like really metaphorical things about your personality that, you know, for instance, each of us plays a role in our life of like, sometimes you feel like the warrior, sometimes you feel like the explorer, sometimes you feel like the tiger, sometimes you feel like the puppy. My oldest calls me puppy, so I have that very integrated into my personality now.
Nice.
But,
and so it's a website?
Yeah, mymythos.org. And it's a website. You can go there, check out what we've been working on. It's very colorful, very exciting, fun kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's neat. Always a work in progress, so it's growing.
Yeah, always growing it.
And what's next for you guys?
Just continuing that,
Yeah, hopefully doing events for that. I want to do some events for it.
and continuing relationships, and I think progressing and either establishing ourselves, because we had moved, I think, since last season. So some people know, some people haven't caught up with that. So
yeah, that's been a really new thing for us.
yeah, so exploring the area, having fun here, and
I lived in
getting the
Boise.
kids adjusted.
I lived in Boise all my life until the last like 3 months. So
this is brand new for you.
this is really new for me. I traveled a lot before then, so I did have that. But I mean, really, picking up your roots and moving them somewhere else is different.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. I left Canada for America, and that was a really big move for myself.
Wow.
As well as I spent some time in Japan before I came. Anyways, big moves are a big deal.
I
So
don't expect any Canadian accent at all.
yeah, I'm very good.
Purpose?
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it
Well,
is.
congratulations. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed at all.
Yeah, thanks. Will you guys be open, if there is indeed a season 4, to do a season 4?
Yeah, absolutely open to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what would that journey kind of look like? Would it be you've moved, and I know like there's a couple of nuggets that you've put in there. So you've moved, you have this potential newness, possibly happening.
That us moving is so minuscule compared to
the fun stuff,
the potential story that would be revealed at that point. So
now this new. Okay, let me say this without having to put you on the spot. If there was a new person, do you let the new person know, oh, by the way, are you open to being on TV?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, whenever we're dating or anything like that, we talk to them about that. And that goes back to your question about how hard is it to date. It's barriers of friction, multiple, because
right.
It's like, first of all, you're dating a couple. You got to be on TV. Well, I mean, you don't have to, but it's, it'd be kind of difficult to do things.
It's a layer. It's a layer that's there.
And
there's kids, and so you have all these barriers of friction to that. So anyway, to answer your question, yes, we talk to them about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. Now let's go back to dating a little bit, just because I do have a few more questions. So, in finding a new sister wife, are you guys open to beyond the borders, like beyond the US? Do you guys look elsewhere internationally? Is that ever a thing for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at it before and such. Like, local's fantastic because you can get together instantly, and then the relationship progresses quicker. But online and distance has always been an option for us as well. So it's just kind of whatever comes our way at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. Good to know. Now, if it's online, Sidian, is it your profile or is it you and Tosha, your profile, and then you explain your situation? And if the person's interested in your situation, then you move forward. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I tend to do the approaching. And if I've got a dating profile involved, then I will mention Tosha and polygamy and that sort of thing in the profile.
But not in the picture, just in like the words?
I think we have a couple pictures. Sometimes.
I've gone back and forth. Sometimes it's a picture of me and Tosh together. Other times it's just me, and if you read the profile, then it will talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I tend to do the approaching, and it is, I guess, a little more focused on me in that way when it comes to the outreach. But I always involve Tosh right away with things if there's any progression.
Yeah, he's very upfront about it. But the women are developing like a romantic relationship with him, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So always like ingraining me and everything, it gets a little weird for them, I imagine. Then I feel like I'm a hawk, like watching over.
But then, so let's say this scenario plays out. How do you deal with this? If they're developing a romantic relationship with him, and it's great, he likes them, they like him, and then you're introduced, and there's no like chemistry in the sense that, oh, I can't see myself being friends with this girl or being a sister wife with this girl, and you guys don't like each other, then what happens?
Well, I think Sidian knows me well enough and we have enough core values that match that I don't think Sidian would ever find someone that I just absolutely can't jive with.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we match enough on the important values that he wouldn't, be dating someone that doesn't match in our overall direction.
But if it did happen still, it would have to come down to me and Tosh talking about it. And I could imagine if the scenario was that I was really into this person, then sure, I might have some hurt feelings about it or something. But ultimately, we both know like this person's got to work with both of us, so they would have to go if they were going to jive with Tosh.
So this has been my question with some of your other castmates. As the new person, and I think Tosha, you probably can speak on it a lot, but as the new person, how hard is it to not feel like you're secondary always in the relationship because of the strong bond the initial couple has? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had some of those feelings coming in to the relationship initially because I was the second. They had years together prior to me. They had children together.
Which is going to help our third.
Yeah, so I think that perspective I understand, and I can still recall the feelings of like the concern or the worry and all of that. And does she really like me, or is she just trying to like me because Sidian likes me, So all of those questions, I think I've felt so intimately that I think it makes me a better sister wife in ways that I can communicate those up front of like, hey, this was my experience. It might not be yours, but if you ever have any of those worries or concerns, like you can talk to me, we can work through it, like, and assure you that, just because Sidian and I have a bond doesn't mean, it takes time to build that too. And so I try to give Sidian and a potential extra time in the beginning to be alone and have that space because I got it, but it doesn't mean like you only get half ever all week.
Right. I think we both like recognize that there's sort of a honeymoon phase that happens too, where you get involved with somebody new and you want to tell them all your stories and introduce them to who you are and your life and all that stuff, and they want to do the same. And Tasha and I, like she says, we've already gotten years to be able to do that. So we have to recognize that when a new person comes in, there's gonna, between both of us, we're gonna want to have that expression.
I think we talk a lot about her and her feelings and how she's feeling, like integrating, and so there's
good
just
to
a
make her
lot.
the focus.
So
of
we make her
everything
kind
for
of
a
the
while.
focus and really kind of try to nurture her and make sure she feels supported.
Okay. And how many sister wives do you feel, is there a specific number that you want to grow to?
Like 32 or something.
32?
No. 38. One for every year.
I feel like you're going to have to buy an island so that, where are all these 32 sister wives going to be staying?
With a mansion.
We're going
A mansion.
And we'll start with one sister wife and maybe go from there.
Yeah, we don't have any real plans. We've talked about that a number of times, and we are open to more, but we also feel like we really have to find out what it's going to be like for a long term to be with just even a third person. At that point, we can talk about things again, and we're going to have to talk about it with the third as well.
Which brings me to my other question. So in the plural lifestyle, I guess really there's no rules, but I'm still going to ask the question. So let's say you decide that you have a third. There is that honeymoon phase. Do you wait like a year or two and make sure everything's like commingled and happening before you even decide that there might be a fourth or a fifth?
Yeah.
Because we did see in your season how two potential sister wives with other cast members just popped in at the same time, and there was a lot going on, right?
Yeah, we did. We talked about that scenario between ourselves, and we both agreed that we feel like, for us at least, that would be too much to handle. We want to spend time specifically with one person at a time. And I think that at least a year or two of spending time with them, and it's going to be another one of those like feel it out sort of situations where the topic will probably come up naturally because of us watching the show or just talking about whatever. And the third is going to, they're probably going to question us of like, well, where are you guys at? What do you want?
Where's the end? Yeah.
And we'll talk about it from there and see how everybody feels.
Now, we've also seen in this season that many of the relationships have children involved. When do you introduce the children to like the potential sister wife? Do you do it in the dating process, or do you do it after you've decided, yes, we're moving forward with this person?
I'd say when things start getting serious. Probably.
Yeah. So it's really important that she integrates with the kids and that neither party feels rejected, because it would be awful to come in as a new wife and think the kids hate you, or for the kids to feel like, oh, well, now I'm stuck with this lady. So we try to wait until it's more serious, because I think polygamy or plural relationships in general are just a little different. And so it's easy for people to think, oh, I can try to do this, and then realize it's just not in their heart. So I think it's just when it's a little more serious, but no, we don't have like a set date or time. It's just kind of when it seems right and she's interested in focusing on the relationship with the kids.
I think this also goes back to your question about misconceptions with people. So, we're talking here now about introducing this new family member and how it seems like a very special circumstance because we're polygamist, right? But it's actually not. If you look at how things are done, at least across the U.S. and many other countries, step parents.
All the time.
When do you introduce them? How do you handle that stuff? Kids these days and throughout most of history have had more than two parents. That's a fact. We call them step parents and things like that. And people have been doing that forever. What we're doing here is arguably more healthy, possibly, if you look at it in terms of we're integrating this person as a part of our unit. They're not a step something. They're not once removed or something like that. They're a part of the family. So there's a lot more, I guess, responsibility and accountability in that situation.
That's you know what? I didn't even think of it like that. That is a fantastic.
We didn't either. And, there's a lot of these things that we get grilled on these questions so much. not to say you're giving us a third degree here or whatever. But,
okay, Sidian.
We get so many of these questions that over time we've been forced to really, really have some introspection on things.
Yeah.
And we've realized over time, like, wait a minute, a lot of things, people are treating us like we're in a special situation in a lot of things, and a lot of the time it's not. It's a situation that people have played out in slightly different ways for many, many years. And
I think maybe the more I talk to you guys, I think it's also how you perceive things, right? And I think that we are socially conditioned to see things a certain way, and anything that's outside of that is like it shakes and rattles our beliefs. So I think that what you just said here is good. It's good for me to get a better and broader perspective, which brings me to your season. What I would have loved to have seen more of is this, answering some of the questions, because for many of us, it's our first introduction to the plural lifestyle, right? Yeah. And although we're being entertained, which is important because it's a show, I think it could also be informational in the sense that hey, as just a regular person, and perhaps I want to know more, this is a great platform, and it's a huge platform. So I hope that we get to see a little bit more of that, if indeed there's going to be a fourth season.
Yeah, actually, I'd really agree with you, and I think that there could be a lot more conversational, deeper conversations on camera. That
Yeah.
I would be much more interested in watching things like that. So, you never know what the producers and things might feel like is a good direction to go. But I think that our conversations here right now can help to influence that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You guys have been fantastic and open, and I appreciate your time. I do want to ask you a couple of more questions before I let you go for the day. What is something that you want the viewers to know about you guys that perhaps because the season ended, you didn't get across?
That we didn't get across on the season.
I think it's just that we're just kind of your average people. We don't have a lot of drama, so it wasn't super juicy for y'all, but but we're just kind of your normal average family that does things a little different with our relationship. And I don't think we always get to display those aspects because everything's so focused on the plural and the wife and that kind of thing. But we're good parents
and to back that
people.
up, sorry. To back that up, just going back to what I was just talking about, that people are seeing us as this special situation, which in some cases I would agree that it is true that some things that we're doing are very different, but there's a lot of those things that are really not. And that if you take a little bit of time to zoom out and think about things a bit, that you'll see that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess one more thing is I don't think so many viewers think women are brainwashed into this lifestyle. And I spoke to almost all the other cast members, and these women are empowered women. They're educated. They know what they're doing and choosing for themselves. So I don't think.
And what does it say about
bullied into the lifestyle, at least?
What does it say about these people, the people who say that, their views of women, to think that they're so
weak?
Weak and easily manipulated and all that. I don't think that speaks to female empowerment at all.
Right.
I think that the question, and it's not my question, but I will address it since we're talking about it. I think that a lot of the viewers couldn't understand why. So there's a couple of things. There's a couple of layers. So the first thing is I think they couldn't understand why it seemed that the man was able to have multiples and the wife was not able to have multiples, right? But then we've talked about that, and I think you've explained it. If you look at it just like, oh, this is a sexual thing, then you can only see it that way. Yeah. But if you expand your mind, then it's not about, oh, it's this or that. Because in my research, there are people that have multiple husbands, and there are people that I didn't write it down, but it's like, you guys don't kill me because I didn't write it down, but what I'm thinking from my mind is like bi-poly or something it's called, where...
Yeah, I think it's something like that. And there's like polyandry too, if you're like the more traditional marriage oriented. But yeah, I think bi-poly, or there's so many subsets to be
right. Yeah. So that's the part that I think that was not discussed. This is like one part of the plural lifestyle, but there are different variations. Right. I almost look at it like a tree.
Yeah, and so to back that up, the people who are kind of making criticisms about that and like, why do we have our relationship set up like this? Well, why do you have your relationship set up how you do? Because you prefer it that way. Mm-hmm. And so it's like asking, a gay couple, well, why do you have to be gay? Mm-hmm. That makes no sense. Yeah. Why would you ask that? The answer is obvious. It's what they prefer. So this is what we prefer. Yes, we know that there are many other ways to have relationships. We, just because of our own psychology, our feelings, how we were raised, influences and stuff, because of all those things, it's come together in such a way that we happen to prefer this particular kind of relationship. So it doesn't matter how many people say that, you know, they think it's patriarchal or abusive and manipulative and why don't you do this and that and all that kind of stuff. This is what we like. So that's what we're going to do.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, it's about what makes you happy, right? So if everyone is happy and healthy and thriving in their relationships, whatever that relationship looks like, then that's what it should be, right?
Yep.
You guys, thank you so much for joining me. We are hoping to see more of Seeking Sister Wives season 4. And where can they find you guys social media wise if they so choose to?
Yeah, so I'm ToshaJones.me on pretty much all the social platforms. And then Sidian, yours is Sidian MS Jones on most of them?
Yeah, I mean, if you look up Sidian MS Jones, that pretty much every social platform, that's the name that I use. So
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And we hope to see more of you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Thank you so much. It's been great.